The story begins in the late 90s, where we see Mike and his group come to a deserted factory to detect ghosts. That factory had its own history. Years ago, many families died due to a fire in the factory, whose souls are still trapped in the factory. Mike and his friends came to the factory to test their ghost detector machine, and we see the machine is giving very strong detection, seeing which Mike's friends start running away from there. Suddenly, Mike's glasses breaks and his friends are pulled into darkness. Mike leaves the machine behind and runs away. Presently, we are shown a boy named Brian, who is a software engineer. Recently, his girlfriend Ellen died in a car accident, after which Brian used VR avatars to feel Ellen's presence. One day, Brian goes to an old mansion where he feels some strange things and hears strange sounds. Then Brian sees a machine. Brian turns on that machine and the machine is showing a strong signal. Then all the machines there start vibrating automatically and Brian gets very scared. Brian shows that machine to his friends Alice and Sai and tells them that I met this machine at the old mansion on our way. It was giving some signal as if it was reacting to someone's presence. Then Sai jokingly tells Brian, "Did you see a ghost?" Sai was not believing Brian's words, but Alice gets very angry at Brian because she used to believe in ghosts. Alice tells Brian, "Put the machine back where you brought it from. We cannot joke with the world of spirits." Brian asks Alice, "How do you know so much about spirits?" Then Alice brings Brian to her house and shows him a book lying on the floor and says, "Right now I will pick it up and put it in bookshelf. You will see something strange here in a while." Alice keeps the book in her bookshelf and goes to her room, and when they both return, they find the book lying on the floor, leaving Brian stunned. Alice tells Brian and Sai, "Actually, I rented this house from Kira. That bookshelf belonged to Kira's mother. When I saw the book on the floor for the first time, I had the same reaction as Brian." Sai asks Brian to test the machine in Alice's house. Alice agrees to the test, but on one condition, that if something happens to anyone, then we will stop everything there. Sai and Brian agree to Alice's word and go to Alice's house. Sai sets up the camera in Kira's mother's room and waiting for the machine's signal. Alice puts the book back in the shelf. Then we see the temperature of the room starts decreasing and the machine starts giving signal. Brian goes to save Alice. Then we get to see a heartwarming scene. All the books come out of the shelf and are flying in the air, seeing which Alice and Brian get surprised. Suddenly, Brian starts flying in the air and thrown to bookshelf. It was like some spirit has attacked him. The next day, Brian is reading the machine's details book, which contains Mike Turner's photo. The whole group reaches the Mike Turner's house, where Mike tells them, "The old mansion you took my machine from used to be an institute where we were inventing all kinds of new machines. During that time, we created an electromagnetic device that allowed us to detect the presence of people who did not even exist. We used this device and we paid the price. Two of my friends died. Actually, when the electromagnetic waves hit them, they gets angry, but I did not pay attention to it then." To which Sai reacts and says, "If I soften the waves coming out of the machine, will we still come in their sight?" To which Mike reacts and says, "No, if you digitize the waves and make them soft, you will not come in their sight." Brian and Sai returns to Alice's house and brings Kira too. They turns on the machine with the help of Brian's VR glasses. Now, Sai, Alice and Kira can see ghosts. Brian keeps the book in the bookshelf. Then suddenly, the room temperature starts dropping and the room becomes dark all around. The machine starts giving signals and finally, Brian and everyone else see the spirit of Kira's mom. Kira's mom hands Kira a book, saying which Kira gets emotional and starts crying. Kira's mom was a good soul. Last time Kira's mom attacked because the electromagnetic waves emanating from the machine were hurting the soul of Kira's mother. But this time, because the waves were soft, she did not attack anyone. Brian, Alice and Sai are having a party celebrating the machine's success. After the party, Sai tells everyone about his ghost app, saying that it allows them to see ghosts. To test the app, Sai takes everyone to a factory, and it was the same factory where Mike's friends and several others were killed. Alice did not want to get into any more trouble, so Alice leaves from there. Brian and Sai set up the machine, while Alice heads to the Institute mansion to gather more information about the machine. We see a ghost attacks Alice, and Alice could see it through Sai's app. Alice was badly injured. It was just a one spirit who attacked Alice. Now think of where Sai and Brian were going, there were many spirits, and Brian and Sai were still unaware of this. The factory was still quiet, seeing which Brian and Sai were moving forward to detect the ghosts. Suddenly, the machine starts making a loud noise. Alice and Mike returns to the factory to save Brian and Sai, but Mike and Alice are also killed. After seeing so many ghosts around him, Sai starts running away from there, and eventually Sai also dies due to electric shock. Brian tries to escape from there, then he sees Alice. Brian comes to Alice, and as he removes the VR glasses from his eyes, Alice disappears. Finally, Brian realizes they should not have come here. Ultimately, Brian also gets killed, and the story ends here.